And happy Mother's Day. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Princeton, where in our open and welcoming community, we live our message of hope, love, justice, and joy. If you're visiting, we're very happy that you've joined us, and we hope you'll stop by the newcomer table just outside those back doors in Robinson Lounge so that we can add you to our e-list and make sure that you're invited to all of the different programs and events that we have happening here. The next big one is next week after worship, our wonderful music ministry will be hosting the brunch. This is a wonderful way to have a nice meal, get to know people, make new friends, and to contribute funds. It's a fundraiser for our music ministry program next week. So plan on staying after worship, enjoying a great meal, and having a lot of fun. We're also delighted to update our spring sale announcement that we made last year. Spring sale we had last week. Spring sale we had 2 weeks ago. It's a great big giant outreach event that raises a ton of money for outside organizations. Right now it looks like we've raised over $40,000 through our spring sale. And best of all, if you'd like to nudge that up a little more, you can buy some plants right out there in Robinson Lounge. That's part of the spring sale too. It is not a coincidence that we timed the plant sale to go with Mother's Day. So if you need some more plants, stop by in Robinson Lounge and pick some up after the worship service. And now with open minds and loving hearts, with yesterday's wisdom and tomorrow's promise in mind, let us worship together in peace and unity.
Our opening words are by Yusef Komunyakaa. I know salt marshes that move along like one big trembling wing. I've noticed insects, shiny as gold in a blues singer's teeth and more keenly calibrated than a railroad watch. But at heart, I'm another breed. The audacity of the lower gods. Whatever we name, we own. Diversa loba, we say, unfolding poison oak. Lovers lie untouched as we lean from bay windows with telescopes trained on a yellow sky. I'd rather let the flowers keep doing what they do best, unblessing each petal, letting go a year's worth of white death notes, busily unnaming themselves.
And let us join in the words in our unison affirmation printed in your order of service. From macaroni necklace and crayon scribbling to store-bought card and purchased flowers, to lunch or dinner, book or bracelet, a call, a visit, a memory of light, we make thanksgivings for those who make us. Mother's Day was originally created as a day of peace, a day in which mothers would advocate for peace in the country and in the world. It began with the Unitarian Julia Ward Howe, who organized a Mother's Day for Peace in 1872. By that time, former Confederate mothers and former Union mothers had already shared that idea and made some movement toward developing what they called days of friendship, in which families torn apart by the Civil War would come back together. Howe built on that and developed the holiday, which had something of a short run before kind of petering out within a decade or so. In the early 20th century, Anna Jarvis, who was a Methodist, reestablished the holiday again as a day to commit to peace, and it took this time. President Wilson established it as a national holiday in 1914. Jarvis, however, was immediately troubled by how commercial the holiday had become, as was Howe earlier, as was Jarvis's mom, who was one of the Civil War era mothers trying to develop those days of friendship. That surge toward consumerism, first in the 1870s and then again in the early 1900s, both increased the holiday's reach and diluted its original message. This led some of the holiday's original founders and proponents to distance themselves from the holiday that they had helped create. Today, we engage a holiday in which we celebrate the mothers in our lives, those of birth, those of choice, those alive, and those in memory. And some of us spend this day sad or conflicted or angry, some joyful in great thanksgiving. There is no one right way to celebrate Mother's Day, as it speaks and sings differently in each of our lives. And so we honor it as we will, celebrating, remembering, being grateful, wishing, praying, and hopefully, should the day ask too much of us, turning to one another for company and friendship. And yet the echoes of the holiday remain. In the air, we can still hear Anna Jarvis and her mom, Anne, and Julia Ward Howe, our ancestor in faith, speaking to us of the call of peace. Not at the expense of remembering and honoring, for both can happen. We can remember and honor and commit to peace. We can love and organize. And we can light candles for all of this, for those who've tenderly mothered and guided us, and for the peace that we can create in our hearts and homes and community and in the world. So today we light candles in that spirit, all of the love and peace that this day imagines and honors, and all are invited to come forward only if you wish to light Mother's Day candles of peace and love, creating many lights that guide us toward the future that we all wish for all of our children. Our prayer this morning comes from the pen of Padraig Otuma. I invite you to join together in the spirit of prayer. Turning to the day and to each other, we open ourselves to the day and each other. This is the day that the Lord has made, and a day we'll have to make our way through, whether with ease or pain, with patience or joy. May we find opportunities for generosity toward others and ourselves. May we find moments of encounter, even in isolation. May we find stories and memories, even in the most complicated corners. May we start again where we have failed again. May we confess and be confessed to, because this is the way of living that's worth living daily. And here in this shared silence, we offer these, the prayers and meditation of our hearts. And may these lights of love be within us this day and always. Amen.
My friend Dylan and I went away by ourselves for a 3-day writing retreat 2 weeks ago and argued way too much about AI. I asked questions of my AI assistant, Claude, throughout the day. I refer to him as my friend, Claude. Dylan believes AI will, quote, destroy what it means to be human and make everyone in my life annoying and stupid. In fairness to myself, when writing, I use AI only for research and occasional synonyms. This is my reflection, not Claude's. I met Dylan in 2019. He was a rising sophomore at Princeton University, taking a 6-week summer seminar my husband taught in Greece. I was there in the role I call nervous breakdown support. Dylan was an outsider among his 14 fellow Princetonians that summer, the first to attend college from his impoverished Appalachian family, with an accent and social awkwardness to match. But he compensated with a degree of self-sufficiency, discipline, and creative self-confidence I find appallingly absent in my own character. I suspect this informs our differences over AI. If I'd been 20 years old the following March when COVID hit and all students were sent home, I probably would have moaned for 6 months about my loneliness. Dylan navigated classes via Zoom during that time while writing, directing, and acting in a film about being miserable that was nominated for an Oscar in 2021 in the student film category. During our 3-day retreat in late April, Dylan worked on a script while I used AI's help to dive into my family's Mennonite history for a performance monologue Dylan had suggested. During my ancestral research and avoidance of writing, I was struck by my forebears' sacrifice of property, titles, and safety to stand by their heretical convictions during the 15th through 17th centuries. As Dylan mercilessly harangued me about the evils of AI, I wondered about the courage or madness of my ancestors' rejection of conformity, whatever the cost. I'm not worried about being burned at the stake, drowned, tortured, or slowly starved in a 16th century prison, but the prospect of giving up Claude for a thesaurus isn't nothing. I'm being glib, but the moral stakes raised by AI do seem as high as those faced by my forebears. I'd always been grateful for my parents' rejection of the Mennonite identity shared by every one of their inbred ancestors going back 500 years. I particularly admired my mother's refusal to accept what she experienced as the patriarchal, provincial, and backward-facing aspects of her family's old Mennonite culture in Kansas. On Mother's Day, I say a prayer of thanks for the painful risks she took, which made way for the better parts of myself. But this Mother's Day, facing the technological sea change about to engulf us all, I wonder if our moment requires radicalism more like that of my ancestors than like my mother's embrace of secularity. My investment portfolio, my efficiency, and my inclination to explore whatever interest takes my fancy all benefit hugely from AI. I honestly don't know whether in coming years I'm meant to lean into technological paradise/oblivion or resist it. Maybe Claude has an opinion.
A reading before the sermon, this is a poem titled Confession. It's also by Padraig Otuma, who wrote the prayer that we used earlier in the service. This is a poem titled Confession. My son told me he Googled, "Am I having a breakdown?" the other day. "Why did you do that?" I asked. "Because I'm in pain," he answered. "No," I said, "why did you ask the computer? Why didn't you come to me?" He said he knew I'd say that. I said, "I'm glad he knew it." He said he's not. I almost said he was acting like a fool, but I saw his face. "What did Google say, love?" I asked. And the sermon. I once attended a Christmas pageant that featured a children's choir singing the carols. We were in the pews, they in the balcony above and behind us, their voices soaring before falling upon us like the snow that fell outside the church on that December night. This was in Minnesota. Lots of snow fell, all of it beautiful, but not as beautiful as the voices of those kids singing loudly of silent nights and boisterously of peace. One voice stood out. Of the dozen or so kids up there singing away, one was louder than the rest, more confident. The voice of one with something to sing and who is certain that it should be heard by everyone within those walls and even beyond them. The voice of one who paces the pack perhaps a little too quickly, but rather than slowing down, just tells the others to step it up. The voice of one enjoying herself, singing her Christmas carols as loudly as she wished, while we below listened enraptured. And we smiled, laughed just a little, hopefully not enough to be noticed, but it really was quite funny, for not only did she sing much more loudly than the rest, she was also very, very off tune. Perhaps the proper term is flat or sharp. I'm not really sure. I'm not a singer. I just know that her notes didn't sound like the notes that usually comprise those songs. They were way off, continuously so, and loud, and impossible to miss or forget. Sometimes you miss in the moment what turns out to be a wonderful experience, and only in hindsight do you realize how fortunate you were to be where you were, when you were, and to have experienced what you did. The meaning settles in later with memory, not in the immediacy of the experience. I'm happy to say that this was not the case then, for I knew in that moment that this was my favorite Christmas pageant that I had ever been to. And I knew that it would take something exceptional to surpass it in the future. The choir, the snow, the church, the traditional story told anew, all wonderful. But that one voice, soaring, confidently but unartfully above the rest, uniting us in applause and in seeming agreement that we would only be grateful and not even a little critical of the offering, made the service more human and holy than it would have otherwise been. I don't remember the homily, though I was headed in the direction of giving those one day. I'm sure we lit candles, but I don't remember lighting them. I remember an organ, but I don't remember what was played. I just remember that choir and that wild, untamed voice singing just as loudly as she wanted to sing, songs that we knew weren't really meant to be sung that way. I wished even then to be that unself-conscious about, well, anything. My joy is rarely that free, though its expression may often be that imperfect. I know I can't sing, enough to know not to sing loudly when it matters, but to be that free and imperfect and yet joyful in the group and the offering was instructive, to say the least. Inspiring is more apt. Sacred feels right. It's no wonder I don't remember the homily. Those off notes were the homily. Those imperfections, those were gospel. Lest the musically gifted amongst us worry, I know this whole scenario wouldn't really work well in most choirs and would be frustrating in some situations. I know this isn't the goal of choral singing. These were kids, and we entered the space ready to be grateful for the gift of whatever was offered. But I also know that the musically gifted in the room, at least some of them, enjoyed it as much, if not more, than the rest of us did, for they often created what we were observing. They knew the potential faults and foils involved in trying to create live, in-person art, and so to see them just fully on display made the moment even more engaging. It's kind of like when I watch the marriage scene in The Princess Bride. The cleric might be a little funnier to me because I know how marriage ceremonies are supposed to work, and it's not the way he does it. It was imperfection that made that scene funny, and the imperfection that made that choir human. Artificial intelligence, AI for short, is today's rapidly emerging technology that promises a perfect or much better or a completely disastrous future, depending on who you ask. The forecast is sunny or stormy. Heaven awaits, or it might be hell. Freedom or enslavement. Opportunity or imprisonment. AI is the broad term used to describe the increasing capability of computers to apply human reasoning to whatever is before them and to learn as they do so. Computers get smarter as they compute, becoming more and more intelligent and needing less and less human guidance to operate. As machines, humans control them, or at least try to. But as they become more than machines, the concern is that control can be wrested by the computers themselves so that they are able to operate without and beyond human guidance. This is where the bots take over in so many novels these days, and movies and short stories. The bots are everywhere, usually computer-driven machines led by artificial intelligence, absent human values, aimed solely at efficiency or amassing more power and eventually domination. The bots, generally speaking, in these artistic works of today end up representing in excess the lesser, more base human instincts that we try and keep measured in culture. They represent in excess what we are not supposed to do, but there's little or nothing to stop them because they've become more intelligent than us. In short, we train the computers so much that they become the masters and can operate on their own, and we live at their comfort and disposal. And artificial intelligence allows for much better problem solving than humans have ever known before. Advances in medicine, transportation, food production, urban planning, communication, science, including climate science, and other areas will make life better for billions and billions of people everywhere. Applied properly, AI will save untold lives and make many more lives longer and healthier. The technology will make it possible to lift more people out of poverty as it figures out how to develop and share resources more equitably. It'll cure currently uncurable diseases. It'll solve unsolvable problems. And it'll do this faster and faster and faster so that what used to take centuries or decades might take months or years. AI won't be the end of anything. It'll be the beginning of a new era of greater safety and prosperity for more people around the globe. There is consensus, though, amidst these two wildly different approaches to AI, expressed here in much sharper contrast than the large swath of gray areas in which AI discussion is often held. A lot of that discernment and philosophy exists somewhere between these two poles, but it's good to know about these extremes because much of what is written these days about AI, and there's a ton written these days about AI, leans one way or the other. But amidst that, there is consensus on, as I've seen it, three things. One is that AI is already in wider use than most of us know. It's already guiding our lives in ways we don't always catch. If not overt, it's underneath and within a lot of systems that we use all the time. If you've done a Google search, you've seen an AI-generated response before any others, for example, and there's no way to turn it off. I've tried. And if not, in some way, it's already a part of our healthcare or will be soon. And two, it's not going anywhere. It's definitely here to stay and will only increase in usage. There will be no day without AI unless something better replaces AI down the road. And while that may seem impossible, there's a whole bunch of 8-track cassettes out there that were once thought to be the height of the music industry. Technology always builds on itself, and there's always the chance that future generations will see our development of AI as quaint in comparison to what they're coming up with. And three, that it should be better regulated, but it probably won't be, at least not by the government. The government isn't particularly adept at regulating 20th century technology, much less 21st and beyond, and so any regulation that comes will likely come from the industry regulating itself. There'll be ethical AI and unethical AI, and our choices will determine much about which thrives. And AI operators will compete with one another for influence too. That has a way of inhibiting and expanding practices within any industry. There is no agreement on whether or not AI can become conscious, probably because there's no consensus on what it means for any of us, for a human to be conscious. A few have argued that AI is already conscious. Most argue that it isn't, but will be one day, and some are working feverishly toward that. And some believe that AI will never be conscious, because once conscious, we can never unconsciously determine what consciousness is. We can only use that state of being to define that state of being, which taints any kind of reliable objectivity. We can feel conscious, but in defining it, we have to have some distance from it, which we can't have in this case. Some say that's where AI can get that distance, but others argue that AI can never bridge it because you have to be conscious already to use consciousness to define consciousness. If you get into all that and read a lot about it, which I have in the last couple of months, which can be fun, I suggest you also regularly schedule a walk outside. Maybe get a cat that you have to take care of, take up pickleball, get to know the staff at the local ice cream shop because you go there so much. Be in the known world that we all share, the one that is defined more by relationality than computability, the one that is touchable with your hands, not just experienced in the mind or on a screen. Feel the sun, feel the wind, feel the cold, feel the rain. Be led there by your curiosity and gratitude, not an algorithm. Walk for your health, relax for your peace, enjoy your friends for the connectedness that they offer. Help someone real, in real time, with a common courtesy or an act of great generosity. That which AI offers will be both harmful and beneficial in ways both predictable and unknown. But what's definitely known is that the world will continue on. Streams will still flow, oceans will still surge, mountains will still rise, and that which humans had no role in creating will still stretch out before us, reminding us of our place in the great web of things. AI can't replace that. It can only represent it. It may be even able to lead us to it, but actually being in the world is up to us now and in the future. We do sometimes confuse artificial for the authentic. We live computer-driven lives, forgetting the beautiful world and people around us in which we are placed and with whom we must live. That world, this authentic one, is far from perfect, and its pace is pretty slow. When we approach it spiritually, we usually rely on old wisdom, old traditions, long growing sentiments and values, leading to ethics that over eons cross cultures and reflect something universally human, even when they're specifically originated. We find that hope, love, justice, and joy and other values are unique expressions, but also common ones. We don't all love the same way, but we are all of love. We want to be loved. And in the most important assertion of our faith 2,000 years ago and of this morning, we are already loved. Everyone is. That which we seek, we've already found. It's already within as a gift, as grace. You don't have to do anything to be loved. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to be anyone other than who you are. You don't have to buy it, build it, or become something different in order to be loved. You already are. You already are loved. And our religious path is to live like that's true. There's no artificial expression of that that will compare to the authentic one, to you and me and others of our faith enlivening our values in the real world, of our reaching out and practicing generosity and compassion, of bringing justice to life and sustainability to the world. There's nothing artificial in a faith that seeks to bless in real time, in real life, this real world in which we live. And there will never be a program that roots out the human essence of the life you live in service to the holy and to one another. There are books about how to do that. There are guides. There are manuals. A few are pretty good. And AI prompts are already at work to tell us how to be really good spiritual people. But at the end of every worthwhile teaching over time is really the lesson, go and do likewise. Whatever we've learned, whatever intelligence we've acquired, or much better, whatever wisdom we've attained, is meant to get us up and out of our seat and to the front door through which we exit and go outside and be a good neighbor to someone, be a good stranger to someone, be a blessing in someone's life, in this authentic life in which there is nothing artificial about being loving and kind. The more artificial intelligence gets, the less artificial you and I must make our larger lives. For I am not artificial, and neither are you. We are gloriously imperfect, holy whispers come to life in human form, with bodies of the earth and voices of light and relationships of ethics and care. We are real, and we feel real things: love, pain, sorrow, and joy, authentic human expressions of lives much more complex than any computer program. And though AI will get many things right, much faster than we will, while it as a tool will open doors that we never even knew were closed, it will never replace the mother's cool hand on the child's fevered brow. It will never replace the scent of her kitchen cooking the birthday cake that you love. It will never replace her spoiling your kids as she never spoiled you. The most important qualities of life are not artificial, they're authentic. They're the off-tune voice in a choir that sounds much better than a perfectly trained one. They're the months or years and innumerable revisions that you put into a book you're writing, or a painting that you're creating, a scene in which you're acting, or a song that you're learning. The authentic life is not a fast program. It's a journey, a long woodworking project, a quilt that takes forever to make. And it's not perfect, far from it. It's too human to be perfect. It's too human to be artificial. It's too human to be anything other than good, just like the rest of creation. It's good, and it's good enough, which makes it truly great and worth living. And as the world both blesses and tempts us with this latest form of new technology, as it always has in countless generations before us, we would be wise as people of faith to remain faithful to the people, to use it as the poet did and allow it to draw him closer to his son in a moment of anguish, even if just to talk about what Google said should happen. And to deepen but never replace our sense of the holy in the way that a beautiful painting might draw us closer to the holy, even though it is not the holy. And to be that which leads us to love one another in authentic life in real ways, more and more. That loving work of the Spirit will never be perfect in human hands, and it'll often take a while to manifest, sometimes an entire lifetime to fully unfold. But in its slow, authentic creation within us, that love takes better root in our beings. And in growing that love together, we also grow together as a people slowly into one another's lives, bringing about communion and lessening loneliness. And then in giving that love away generously to neighbor and stranger, we'll bless more together than we ever could alone. May it be so, and amen. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.